Braden Martin leads at third. Jacob Orr off of first base. Here's the 1-1 to Keister. Liftoff to left center. Maryland leads for the first time tonight. 8-0 down to 9-8 out in front. Kevin Keister with a 3-run jack to put Maryland in front.
The 0-2 with one away. On a line, Houston leaps and he's got it. Oh, what a play by the Demon Deacon for out number 2. 2-2, ground ball, that's through. Meggers comes home easily. Here comes Lewis. He's gonna score. Davis Gillespie off the bench into the spotlight. A go-ahead 2-run single in bottom 6. Littman's payoff, swing and a miss. Kenny Littman, 3 strikeouts in this 6th inning, escapes the jam and will end his day on a high note. Dickinson going from Utah Valley to LSU. He puts down a bunt. It's McIlvain trying to make another play. It's a laser, and it's out number 2. What a start for McIlvain. Chance for the Terps to break this one open. A big midweek for both sides. The first pitch to Hakopian sent a long way to left. Back goes Langley, and Chris Hakopian hits a grand slam. His 6th long ball of the season, and the Terps have broken it wide open in the 8th. Late additions, crucial in a summer league, as Faye paints the back door. It's the slider for out number 2. 1-0. Fly ball drifting to left field. Back goes Rose. He looks back, and that ball is gone. Tristan Becerra with home runs in back-to-back nights. It's a 4 spot for Bourne here in bottom 1. Carmichael at first following his walk. 1-2 right down Broadway for strike 3. Back-to-back strikeouts for the 2nd time in this game for Chase Meyer. Bourne does seem to be playing much more relaxed in tonight's game after that day off yesterday. 1-1 to Michelle. Grounded fair down the right field line, and this is going to give Bourne the lead. Houston around third. Holcomb getting the wave as Bourne takes a 3-2 lead. Holcomb to the plate. Make it 4-2 Bravos on Garrett Michelle's 2-run double. The 0-1 to Orr. Line right back to Casey Smith. Look what I found. He throws the ball back onto the mound, and that'll end the 5th inning.
Elijah Lambros, deep fly ball to center field. Goodbye, baseball.
Another ground ball here. Tailor-made double play ball. Houston to Barthel to Michelle, and that'll end the inning. A routine 6-4-3 double play gets Faye out of the jam as Falmouth once again with a goose egg on the scoreboard.
Maryland couldn't have gotten a much better start from Kenny Littman, and now it'll be Ty Bothwell, another veteran on the mound today. 2 veterans going toe-to-toe, but for Bothwell, making just his 2nd start of the year. His first one was last Friday, and he was able to go 8 innings in that game, which was a career high.
Yeah, if you're Bothwell, you can't ask for a much better first start of the season than the one he had on Sunday against Butler. You mentioned that career-high 8 innings. Nate, he also had 8 strikeouts, the most in a game he's had since 2022. So if they can have a repeat performance, including the innings that Bothwell was able to eat, the Hoosier should be in good position.
It was 8 innings, only 2 earned runs on 6 hits, and you mentioned the 8 strikeouts for Bothwell. Braden Martin will be the leadoff man for Maryland, and he will show bunt a lot early in these at-bats. Innings 1 through 9, a guy that's always ready to take that pass if he's able to get it. The 0-1 well outside to even the count.
And you mentioned for Martin how he's willing to see the pitches. He got on base just about any way you could against UMBC. Hit by a pitch 3 separate occasions. You had on a walk and a single, and Martin was just finding a way to first any way he wanted.
1-1 fouled straight back. Martin actually scored the game-tying run on that 2-run game-winning single for Sam Honar, who's going to hit in the cleanup spot today. But you're right for Martin, 1 for 2. Reached base 5 times on Wednesday night. 1-2, that's a pretty slider, and he paints the outside corner for strike 3.
Yeah, 84 miles an hour comes there from Bothwell, and as you mentioned, you can't paint it any better than Bothwell does right there. Freezes the freshman. First out of the game comes with a pretty slider.
So tough for a left-handed hitter
in Martin to see that pitch, especially when Bothwell lowers the slot. And now Chris Hakopian, another superstar freshman for Maryland, will step in. Was a Big Ten player to watch ahead of the year, and he's lived up to that, hitting .339 across 28 games for Maryland this year. Foul ball to the right side. That one will get out of the stadium to put Bothwell ahead 0-2. Both pitchers are doing a really good job so far of getting ahead of the top third of their respective lineups.
Yeah, this is what you expect from your Friday guys, a willingness to attack the zone, have the confidence in their own stuff to not pitch around these batters that come early in lineups. Bothwell doing similar again to what we saw Kenny Littman do in the top of the first.
The 0-2, he goes upstairs with the fastball. It just misses. And this is a player for Maryland and Chris Hakopian, very disciplined at the plate, 19 walks. These are the top two teams in the Big Ten in terms of drawing walks. So expect to see a lot of patient at-bats today as, again, Hakopian is able to lay off a pitch well out of the zone.
Yeah, and we know that that's been a bit of a plague so far for Maryland this season is getting behind in the couch from a defensive standpoint and pitching around batters. They're going to have to do a better job of that with the Hoosiers, and same thing with Bothwell.
Same placement on the 2-2 right there. So Hakopian goes from an 0-2 count to now the count being full. 3 balls and 2 strikes. The second batter of this bottom of the first inning against Ty Bothwell, a graduate left-hander. The 3-2 slap to the right side. Coming on and nearly coming to a knee is Mitchell to make the grab for Indiana.
Yeah, Nick Mitchell coming on. You mentioned from that right field position, Hakopi just pokes it the opposite way. I thought that one had the speed to get down in front of Mitchell, but coming down to make the play, the junior just made it look easier, I think, than it seemed to be off the bat.
That was a great read from Mitchell out in right field, and now Eddie Hakopian steps in for the Terps, hitting .373 on the season. He squares the bunt, drags it to that third base side, but too much spin towards that Maryland dugout, and it'll go foul.
I like the surprise there from head coach Matt Swope. Josh Pine will take another look at it. Comes down from his third base position. You see there's all that space there. Pine's not even into the frame until now. As you mentioned, just a spin there from Hakopian. That one would have had him on first easily.
This Maryland team has a lot of free will when it comes to scoring to bunt like that. Eddie Hakopian, plenty of times this season, has laid a bunt down on a first pitch, and some of those times there's been a runner on third, and he's gotten an RBI out of it.
Now, comes with what we've seen from head coach Matt Swope, too. Remember, first year as head coach for Swope, but he's been in the program for quite some time. The hitting coach last year, he's still at third base. Swope is as well, coaching these guys, giving the signals directly to his batters. So you got to think that transition, going from an assistant to a head coach, much easier for the Maryland batters when Swope's been in their ear the last couple of years.
So Bothwell now a strike away from getting out of the inning unscathed, and it would mean that both pitchers are able to go 1-2-3 against the 1-2-3 hitters in each of the lineups today. Here's the 0-2, and Hakopian sends this one to left field. Devin Taylor going back. He looks at the ball, and it's off the scoreboard. Eddie Hakopian mashes his third homer of the season, putting Maryland on top 1-0.
Yeah, making it count. Hakopian didn't have the midweek against UMBC that he wanted, but he'll come back and make up for it in his very first at-bat. This one, just a great piece coming from Eddie, sending it 369 feet right into left field, hitting that scoreboard, as you mentioned, a loud first run of the game.
It's the first time Eddie Hakopian has hit a home run this season at Bob Turtle Smith Stadium. His first 2 came on the road, and now Sam Honar takes that first pitch from Bothwell on the outside corner. But how good is that of a feeling for Eddie Hakopian to not only hit another home run, give your team the lead, but to get the first one at your home field?
Yeah, you got to love it if you're Eddie Hakopian. One of the key cornerstones coming back under the first year head coach Matt Swope again. So we're going to have home plate umpire here, Donald Galler, actually talking with the Maryland dugout about just staying in that area over there. But Hakopian's taken on such a leadership role this year. You can saw what it meant there on the celebration from the Maryland dugout that one of their guys got his first hit.
And Sam Honar will follow that up with a single up the middle. His hot streak continues. for Honar. We talked about it in the open. 500 over the last 5 games, 11 hits and 22 at-bats. He adds to it right there. After struggling last year against Indiana with the Iowa Hawkeyes, there was only 1 hit for Honar last year in 4 games against Indiana, and he's already matched that in 1 at-bat here in 24 with Maryland.
Yeah, now at the cleanup spot, Honar getting a lot of confidence from Swope, and he's really taking that into his own here to keep extending that streak. We mentioned that walk-off he had right here at Bob Turtle Smith Stadium on Wednesday. Now in his very first at-bat, gets back on base. All of a sudden, Nate, Bothwell starting to have a lot longer of a first inning than we expected.
Middle to Keister. He pops it up to the right side, and nobody for Indiana is going to be able to get there. For Keister this season, a player that has been the Iron Man for Maryland baseball over the last 3 years. This is his 140th consecutive start for Maryland, whether it be at second base or shortstop. He was 1 for 5 on Wednesday with an RBI, and he pops this one up again, but also going foul. When you talk about a guy 140 consecutive starts, that's really hard to do, especially when he's had to play both positions in the middle infield.
Yeah, there's a reason why he wears the prestigious number 3 for Maryland, given every year to the team's captain. So we're seeing Keister in it now and making great work of it too. I think when you talk about this infield as well, Nate, for Maryland this year, you got Chris Hakopian, the freshman at third base, Sam Honar, who's on first base now, the transfer starting at second. Keister's really been able to keep this group together and make it all integrate really well from his leadership.
Bothwell's thrown over a couple of times, keeping Honar in check at the bag, and now another throw over. And it's so tough for these Maryland base runners. They've got to be careful. Maryland's not a team that tries to steal a whole lot of bases, but if you get a little too aggressive with that secondary lead, it looks like Bothwell is going to be ready for it.
Yeah, Bothwell keeps looking over. This is also the second straight left-handed pitcher that Maryland has seen when you go to the midweek against UMBC, and now Bothwell, the southpaw, pitching here on the Friday series. So always easier when you're a left-hander to get that look over at first and try to throw over.
In terms of hitting left-handed pitching this year, Maryland 254. And that's compared to righties where they're hitting 295. And this one nearly gets away from the first baseman, but Honar able to get back. At first base, it's Brincheski for Indiana. Keister, he's seen a lot of throwovers. Now we'll get a pitch and take it up and out. This will even the count, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Again, the patience is showing for Maryland, something that head coach Matt Swope really preaches as really his main coaching point is wanting to have the right pitch selection at the plate.
Yeah, we've talked about it with a couple of different players so far this season. One thing that was really interesting that we can dive into a little bit more later is that after every game, Swope has scorecards made for each player. So they walk into the locker room, right there in front of their faces, it's saying, all right, you're swinging too far outside on this pitch. You got to let this one go or maybe attack this part of the zone more. That really helps these Maryland batters understand where they should be looking to strike at and where they should be laying off, like Keister does there.
He lays off. That one, a close pitch below the zone. That one pretty much could have gone either way right there. A 50-50 call from our home plate umpire, Donald Goller. We take another look at it right at the bottom of the zone. That one definitely could have been a called strike 3, and I was honestly waiting for the ring up from Goller.
Yeah, just 88 miles an hour on the 2-seam right there, and Bothwell just couldn't get the look. You expect with 2 strikes that one will go, but Goller, the home plate umpire, lets it go.
Now Jacob Orr, and that pitch was lower than that last one we saw, but this one was called a strike for Bothwell against Jacob Orr, who has had his struggles as of late for this Maryland lineup.
Was just going to say, if there's a Maryland hitter that could use some of those calls to go their way, it's Orr.
He sends this one on a line right to Devin Taylor in left field, but we take another look at this home run from Eddie Hakopian, his first at Bob Turtle Smith Stadium this season.
Left field, Hakopian calls it and takes an early Maryland lead. That's been such a struggle so far for Maryland this season. We'll see if they can sustain the lead in the top of the second on Big Ten Plus.